Hello, everyone, and welcome back. In the previous episode, we successfully added an axe to our player's hand and set up our animator controlling so that our character swing with the axe whenever we left click the mouse. But right now, if we play our game, you'll notice that the world around us is completely dead. We can walk up to our environment, swing our axe, but nothing happens. So today we are going to fix that. We are going to import a low poly tree pack, place a tree in our world, give it a basic health system, and use a technique called raycasting alongside animation events to make our axe physically chop down and destroy the tree in exactly 3 hits. The first thing we need is a tree to chop, and for this we are going to use this polystyle vegetation pack, which you can see contains some trees. So go ahead and add that to your assets and import it into your Unity project. Inside of here, you can enter another folder and then the prefabs folder and then the environment folder. And you can see here we have a bunch of buildings, some plants, some trees. Let's just drag in a tree to our scene. And I don't want it named environment 4. I will rename that to tree. And now that our tree is visually placed in our world, it needs a brain so it can track its own health. We are going to do that by adding a script to it. So I will head into my scripts folder and I will create a new mono behavior script. I will call it tree health. In our script, I will start out by deleting the start and update methods. And now we're going to create a few variables. Firstly, our tree needs to know its maximum life, aka how many hits it takes to chop down the tree. So we will create a private int starting health. We will set that to 3. Next, we need a variable to track the tree's current health during gameplay. So let's create another variable called private int current health. This variable starts out empty, of course, but we will assign a value to it in the exact moment the game begins. To do that, let's use Unity's built-in method, awake, and in here we will type current health is equal to starting health. The final thing we need in this script is a way for a player to actually damage the tree. So we need to create a function that other scripts can talk to. Therefore, we will write public void take damage. It will take in an int parameter called amount, and using the keyword public here is crucial. It acts as a way to open the door, meaning other scripts, like our player script for instance, are allowed to reach inside the tree script and trigger this block of code. We also put int amount inside the parentheses as a parameter. This lets us decide that whatever hits the tree specifies exactly how much damage they want to deal, which works very well when later on we add upgrades to our weapon so that they can deal even more damage. The first thing we need is to subtract the damage from our current health. Therefore, we will type current health minus equals amount. So let's just print it out so we can see what's going on in our editor by typing debug.log. We will just log our current health. And finally, we need to check to see if the tree has run out of health and therefore should be removed from our game scene. So let's write an if statement. If current health is less than or equal to 0, we will destroy this game object. We can go ahead and save the script and head back into Unity. Now we can select the tree in our hierarchy and add our tree health script as a component. Now that our tree is able to take damage, the next thing we need is to add a way for our axe to deal damage. To do that, we are going to head inside our swing script and we are going to use something called raycasts. A raycast in Unity is basically an invisible straight line which you shoot out from a point in a specific direction to detect what it hits. You can think of it kind of like a laser pointer used by a game to check around the game world. It can tell you things like, is there a wall in front of me? Did the player click this object? Or is the ground under my feet? Unity then returns information about whatever the ray hits, like object, distance, and position. So we are going to create a new method called public void check hit. And then inside our method, the first thing we will need is a raycast hit variable. I'll just call it hit. So this variable basically stores what object in our game world that our ray hits. Next, we need a float called interaction distance. We will set this to 2.5f. The 2.5f is basically how many units we have to be within the target we try to hit before we can actually hit it. Then to make sure that we're within this distance, we will say if our physics.raycast. And then for parameters, we need the current position of where our axe is, which will be the transform.position. Then we need a direction which we want to hit in. For this, we will use transform.forward as we want to swing our axe towards what is in front of us. Then we need to use the out keyword, which basically just represents our output and it will represent our hit, so what we hit. And then finally, we need our max distance, and for this, we will use our interaction distance variable. Now that we are checking if we are actually hitting the tree, we will do an instance of our tree health script by typing tree health tree. equal to hit.transform.getComponent tree health. So in this line, the hit.transform gets the exact object that our raycast has touched, and getComponent digs inside of that game object to search for our tree health script, and if it finds it, it stores it in our new tree variable. Lastly, let's deal some damage to the tree by typing if tree not equal to null. So if it exists, then we want the tree to call its take damage method. And for now, we can just deduct the health of the tree by 1. And that is actually all for our swing script. So I will save this. We could be calling our check hit method in the update, but that would cause a slight problem, as then all of this code would be executed the exact moment that we hit our left mouse button. What we want to do is to wait until our axe actually collides with the tree before we deduct the health from the tree. To do this, we will use something called animation events. So let's head back into Unity, and then we will go to the animation tab just to quickly explain animation events. An animation event is a marker that we can place directly onto our animation timeline that tells Unity, play the swing animation like normal, but at one exact moment when our timeline hits a specific frame, run our check hit function. So to do this, we will open up our player capsule and our player camera root, and then on the X game object, we can go to the swing animation. You can see right here at frame 6 is where our X is the most forward, and therefore it would make the most sense to deduct some health from the tree at this point. So therefore we will add our animation event at frame number 6. So we can move our marker to frame number 6 and right click right here on the line, click add animation event. And you can see in the inspector, we have the animation event, but no function is currently selected. Since we are using the X, which also has the swing script on it, we can access the script by opening up the drop-down menu, go to the swing, then the methods, and then the check hit method. Now that is set up, let's open up our game view. Just keep an eye down here on the console window, because when we go to the tree and we swing our X, you can see it now says 2, then 1, and then when we swing a third time, the game object is destroyed and we have successfully chopped down our first tree. Well done on this video. It was 2 pretty hard topics to master, both raycasting and animation events at the same time. So if you made it to the end of the video, kudos to you, really good job. And now that we have our first tree, I was thinking the logical next step would be to start building out our world. So in the next episode, we will use terrain tools to do that. But for now, thank you for watching, subscribe for more content, and I'll see you in the next one.